Hello everyone, welcome to your next tutorial on CakePHP. In this tutorial, we'll be seeing how we can hash our password using CakePHP. You know, when we created the user the first time, it was saved in plain text in our database, and that's what we're seeing here, which is not saved at all. We need to hash it. So we use CakePHP default hasher to hash it. To do that, we need to head to a folder, locate a certain file in src, and we see a model, and inside models we see entity, and we select user.php, and then inside there right here we're going to write a code that will hash our password for us. Alright, as you can see, it's hiding the password. So what we will do is a function, we'll do a set password. Matter of fact, we can just copy this code. I want to give you a place where you can read it up properly. So to get this, you have to go to CakePHP documentation. So we go to cakephp.org and hit on 3.0 and en and index.html, or basically go to the cakephp.org website and hit on book. That is where I am now. So you scroll down to the left and hit on authentication, and when you get to authentication, you Control F and look for set password. This is the code we are looking for, and if you look at the title says hashing password. So we want to hash our password. So this is the function we're simply going to copy, and when we copy it, we're going to come here and paste it. Alright, now we have it. It's going to it's basically checking if password, if something was entered in the password, then of course it hashes it. Now we have this, you save, and we're going to try and create a new user and see whether it hashes the password. So we click on new user, and what we have is I'm going to enter Tom Hillary as the new user we are going to get in our, and of course, no, we're not going to use add user, we're using sign up. Sorry for that. So we're going to /user/channel, where we have email. We use our favorite from Hillary at Gmail. I don't know who owns this, I just made it up, and I'm sorry if it's somebody's email. So we type a random number as our phone number. Then I'm going to enter password again as password, or whatever you want to use as your password. I just entered it. So my main aim here is to see whether it hashes. So when we click on submit, of course we have an error which we can fix now. Yeah, that error is because we didn't import a certain dependency. If we get back to our code and scroll to the top, there is something we didn't import here, which means if we get back to the documentation and click here, we'll see that yeah, we're missing this trigger. So let's copy them and get back to our code, and we'll paste here. Then obviously it will repeat itself. We have entity, which we already have here, so we delete entity. We delete entity here, and we have ORM, and we delete it. Basically the only line we copied was this line, and we put it in between these two guys, and that's it. I click save, and of course if we try to submit again, so I'll refresh this page so it will attempt to submit. It's attempting to resubmit the page, the form. So I hit continue. It should hash the password securely for us. It has hashed. As you can see, we now have 3 users registered in our database, and this last one, the password is hashed. And I hope you really enjoyed this particular section of the tutorial. We'll move into the next session where we proceed with our authentication. So right now we've successfully hashed our password. The next thing we need to do is to actually configure our authentication component. So what we will do is to head back to your src folder, and then you hit on controller, and then you hit on app controller. Remember that your app controller is the root controller of your application. Alright, any code you put here will be accessible from all these other controllers. Okay, so we open it in your favorite text editor, and this is mine. Then there's an initialize component. Any code that you put here runs by default in all other components. When your app is being initialized, the code initializes. Alright, so what we have to do is to add and load a new component right here. So what we can do is we have this load component and component, and we're going to load a component called auth. This auth is going to handle all user authentication and authorization. But before we proceed with the auth, because you know we're going to add a bunch of other parameters here, on configurations. But before we continue with it, I want to show you that there's something that's commented out here. It's called security, and there's something that's commented out here, CSR rep. If you're coming from other PHP frameworks, you'll be conversant with this. This will be familiar for you. So in CakePHP is disabled by default. You can just come here and comment it out to enable it. Alright, so we'll meet it further down the tutorial. So right here you can configure a whole bunch of other parameters, but I just want to show you how to get it and where to read up more on it. So if you head back to CakePHP documentation, and if you go to cakephp.org, you click on book. That's how you get here. Then you scroll to the left and hit on authentication. Then here you search for load component of, yeah, of course that's what we're looking for. This is the topic we are looking for, configuration, configuring authentication handlers. So if you scroll down, we will see example code that I want to copy, and here is it. This is the authentication handler I want to copy, and we will just take it this way, and I'll copy, and we get back, and of course we replace it because that's what we were trying to do here, and I already made a mistake while I was typing. Alright, there we are, and we have this. Let me just clean it up so that it looks cool. So we have this guy. What it's doing here is login action. It's just asking you which controller will handle the user authentication process, and you know, we have written it in users controller. That's why we entered users controller. It's asking you which controller is handling the login. So here we have it in login. We named the controller method login, which action. So if we come to our users controller, remember that we created a dummy, an empty login function. See it here. We named it login. So if we actually name this login 2, we can come here and change it to login 2. So CakePHP is basically asking us which method in our controller is handling the login. So we simply say it's login 2, and then the next thing we will configure here is, if we're using a plugin. So far we are not using a plugin to manage our user authentication. Apart from CakePHP default authentication of components, you can use plugins. Some people have written plugins. You go to GitHub, you'll see a lot of them. So we're removing this option. We're not using any plugin. And then there is an auth error that when you want to visit a page you're not authorized to visit, this is the message that that you get. So you can configure the message here. There's the authenticate. CakePHP has 3 types of authentication. You have basic, which is form. You have form authentication. You have basic for HTTP when you're using your APIs, and another more advanced one which is called digest authentication, which is for APIs to making HTTP requests. So by default your application should work perfectly with form, so we're telling it to use form authentication for us. And there's something else that is very interesting here. CakePHP can authenticate your user using any fields. For instance, if we are building an application that people need to be authenticated using a phone number field, we can tell CakePHP that the username is not email, it's actually the phone number. That's what we use as username. And then CakePHP wants to know what you want to use as your password. If you need to use any other thing as your password outside the password field, then you can specify it here. By default, CakePHP takes the password field in your form as the password. So we can say we're using our email field as a password, depending on how your configuration wants to go. But for us in this particular tutorial, what we're using as the password field is our password, and what we're using as the username field is our email. So this is where you configure it. So CakePHP wants to know how to store your user sessions. We can say session. If we're using our APIs, of course we can use session. All right. Okay, so this perfectly enables our authentication system, and with this, CakePHP has only allowed only one URL. Let's go see our app again. If we get back to our app, and you know, we're not logged in this app, and let's say we want to see this page again. So let's refresh it and see whether we still have access to this page, and guess what happens? CakePHP redirects us to the login page with this message saying, do you really think you're allowed to see that? And guess what? That's what we have here. CakePHP has automatically locked out all the other routes except the login route. So we can only log in before we see any of those links. So what we will do is to enable some other links. For instance, the sign up page, we can no longer access the sign up page if we just do auth, cake auth, which is our root folder, and say sign up. we can no longer see it, so we have to go and allow it manually so that CakePHP will know that yeah, we need this. So in CakePHP, when you want to allow, you can allow entire controllers, then you can allow only methods. For instance, we can allow the whole methods in this controller, or we can allow only certain method. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. Right here we'll create a new function we can call public function. We call it before filter. This is the you must name this function this particular name. So we have we'll pass in a parameter of the type event, and we call it events, and inside there we will say which function to allow. We say this off allow, and then we can start mentioning the names of the methods or actions to allow. So for instance, we want the public to be able to access the sign up page, so we will come here and say sign up. Another function, we might want the public to access maybe forgot password, so we can say public function forgot password, and of course we leave it empty for now. But we can allow it right here in our before filter, and just above here we can say, of course, we need to be able to access a before filter without logging in, forgot password without logging in. But before then, we need to actually import this, so we will come here and say use cake event. Alright, so if you don't do this, you have errors when you use these events. Okay, so this basically allows some methods for us. If we want to allow all methods in a particular function, we will just do the same thing without any parameters. So if we just do this, it will allow all methods. So all our actions, you know, this in CakePHP, these guys are called actions. The name of the functions inside your controller are called actions. So if you do this in your before filter, all your actions will be allowed, will publicly accessible by default. But if you want to deny all actions, you can say deny. It denies all actions. If you would like to deny certain actions, you can start mentioning them inside your block bracelets. You can just say deny index. So if we say deny index, it means that when this index can only be accessed by users that are logged in, but by default our auth component denies everything. So since it denies everything, we can manually allow these two links only. Alright, so we're good to go. If you have any other controller, like in the future we'll create a post controller so that users that log in can make posts. In that we will go to that post controller and allow certain pages that we want to be accessible from the public. Okay, so if we get back to our app again, and what we'll see is we refresh. Okay, we'll have to go and check out our sign up page. Really? Okay, there's an error. I will fix it right now. We need to get back to our code and see what we're doing wrong. We have events, okay, and alright, this is where we made the mistake. It's supposed to be cake event. Alright, and alright, so save, and get back to your code and refresh. I'm refreshing right now, and there we are. This is our login page. So let's see if we can now access our sign up page. We'll hit on sign up and hit enter. Sorry, that's the wrong URL, and of course we need to hit our users sign up, and there we are, our sign up. We can now access our sign up because we allowed it inside our controller. So this is how to allow certain URLs and how to hash your password in CakePHP. So thank you very much, and see you in the next tutorial where we'll go deeper and deeper into making this a robust application. As of now, we can sign up a user, and we need to write a login function in the next tutorial. Thank you very much. See you. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. See you.